The crypto spring is here. According to Raoul Pal, all the stars are aligning for the most outrageous and potentially enormous crypto bull market you can ever even imagine. And what that means for us positioned where we are right now in the very start of the next phase that's coming is huge. But if you do this wrong, you will leave the bull market less well off than you could have done. In this video, we're going to break down exactly what Raoul Pal has been saying about the macro environment and also understand exactly which areas of the market we should be focusing on at different times. This one's extremely important, so hit the like button and let's get into today's video. Now guys, if you subscribe to this channel, since the end of December last year, I've been pretty much telling you we're at the bottom of the market. And that wasn't because I'm a self-proclaimed legend at reading charts. No, it was because I'm a legend at understanding who to pay attention to and who to follow. And a few people out there were definitely worth noting. Chris Bernisk definitely came across with some really good information and got me into Solana early. I also listened to Raoul Pal, who understands in depth the macro environment. I then chose to ignore the likes of Gareth Soloway and Ben Cowan, which seems to have paid off quite nicely for me. Now, what does Raoul Pal know that really helped me out making decisions? Well, he told us about the liquidity cycle and why the liquidity cycle has been what's driving the crypto markets since 2008. So when he's come across and told me this piece of information right now about the macro situation, I had to pay attention. And here's what he had to say on the macro environment and why, running into next year and the year after that, why we're going to see an absolutely phenomenal environment within crypto.
You get your t-shirts out and then it's freezing cold again. That's what spring is like. That's exactly what macro spring is like and crypto spring. So we saw spring and we saw choppiness, sideways ranges, a squirt up in the beginning, then slowed down. And then we're now getting into late spring. Late spring, we're starting to see what I refer to as the banana zone, which is this massively positive end of year phase. Normally speaking, again, probabilistically speaking, no guarantees around here, so don't try and hold me and go, well, it didn't go up at the end of the year, you're a bastard. I'm bored of that stuff. Probabilistically speaking, it goes up into the end of the year, and usually fast. And nobody catches it, and everybody's chasing it because they're all trying to chase performance for the end of the year and prove to their investors that they had the right trades on, which obviously they didn't because all the institutions have been massively underweight. So that, I think, is what's taking place, and that's usually the end of crypto spring and macro spring. Then we start transitioning to summer. Summer is when rates start coming down, box looking like it's starting to be ticked. When inflation falls, that's happening. And as you know, my views on inflation are it is not sticky, it's mean reverting, and it will go back down to 2% or lower. I think it actually goes negative in this cycle, and I think core inflation will go negative this cycle too. And that's what we're going to look for in 2024. And that will take people by surprise. And I think the Fed purposely orchestrated it. They want it. They want to see rates lower so they can refinance the debt. So interest rates falling, inflation falling, unemployment rising. And then when you look at the forward-looking indicators, growth will be picking up from the floor. That is the perfect macro environment. Then we're coming into election year. As all of these macro springs have been since the Great Reset of 2008. They're all the same timing. Macro summer is the same as the election year, is the same as the halving year. In Bitcoin, it's all the same bloody thing.
Okay, so I understand you're not like an economics major or whatever, right? Me neither. But it's important to understand basically that kind of the market conditions are leading to what's going to improve the market. If we look at basically what caused the fall of Bitcoin, many people will say was because basically the government was trying to bring in interest rates hikes to be able to curb inflation. So basically now we can understand that this is going to bring the other way round. And although we've seen Bitcoin and everything rallying already this year into the space, the market is about 6 months ahead. So we can see perhaps early 2024 when they start to ease off on that tightening, the cycle begins again. Now there's something very concerning going across cryptocurrency. Remember, I've just told you we've got 18 months to 2 years to be able to see some gains, to be able to make some money to change our lives. Now, I don't know what you're thinking, but most people out there think that they need a 50x or 100x or 1000x to change their lives. That might be true. But if you're looking for that right now and you're saying to yourself that I have to 50x, I have to 100x my money, there's a reason you're doing that. Unfortunately, because across crypto, there's a lot of YouTubers out there who are just shilling shitty piece coins every day, trying to outplay each other for 50x's, 100x, 1000x on this coin or that coin. Now, why do they do it? Well, because of a few things. They need to get clicks, okay, in order to drive their YouTube algorithms. Don't get me wrong, I do the same now and then. But ultimately, this is the easiest, lowest hanging fruit for the crypto influencer. Why? Because I can cover potentially loads and loads of different minor altcoins on a daily basis, and maybe one of them goes and does 100x, and I can go and tell you about that one. But you're like, well, what about those 1,000 other coins that you talked about that did sweet fuck all? Well, those exist, and unfortunately, those are the reason that you're not really going to make any money. Because unless you're taking your 100% of your bag and putting it into one of those coins that actually does 100x, which you definitely shouldn't do because there's a very low chance of that happening and you getting this right, then you're going to end up on the rocks, trying to go too fast and too hard, okay? This is basically like playing the lottery. Also, what Raoul Pal says is that towards 2025, the small cap kind of lottery will begin. But right now, it's the 6th of December, 2023. Small cap lottery doesn't begin until 2025. There are, however, small caps right now that are doing well. But you don't want to play the lottery, remember? You want to have a job so you can buy lots of lottery tickets later on. So how do we find ourselves a job within crypto? Well, I'm not an advisor for that. But what I can tell you is that there is a fairly set and easy formula to follow to be able to give ourselves the 3, 4, 5x before 2025. And you're like, well, that sounds boring. Well, fine. But we're looking to 5x our entire bag by the start of 2025. Why would we want to do that? Well, right now, maybe you've got a little bit of coins to have a shot at whatever it is and whatever, and fine. Throughout next year, you need to be continuously, if you can, you don't need to be doing anything, okay? This is not financial advice. I'm not going to tell you what you need to do. What I want to be doing throughout next year, until Bitcoin is anywhere near all-time highs, is loading up on all different cryptos I can with all pieces of cash flow that I can get my hands on. And then eventually, once I kind of hit my main kind of bags and they've been kind of growing enough, and I've seen like the 5x's or the 10x's come from various coins such as Ethereum or such as Solana or whatever, then I'm looking to maybe get out into the smaller cap market. Now, if you've seen this path to altcoin season before, you'll see that it starts with Bitcoin. If we look at the market over the last couple of days, you'll see that Bitcoin's been rallying really hard while nothing else has really been doing a huge amount, which means we're in phase 1. So the next phase, theoretically, would be Ethereum. Ethereum right now has the ability to go to like 3, 4, 5 grand, which means you're going to see potential 50 to 100% gains on an ETH bag. And that's probably for the more conservative amongst you. However, a few weeks ago when we saw Avalanche and Solana and everything pumping, what was causing those pumps was the coins, the small caps within those particular ecosystems that were pumping. I will anticipate that what comes in phase 2, phase 3 kind of area would be a further continuation in the likes of Solana and in the likes of Avalanche. How can we capitalize on this? I hear you cry. Well, personally, I would have exposure to the likes of Solana and Avalanche. Solana currently sat at $62. You can see is fighting to try and get beyond this high. And yeah, it might pull back and who knows what comes out. Suddenly we get COVID-23 come out, okay? And then you see it drop down lower. Solana will survive that, so would Avalanche, so would a bunch of others. So they're fairly sort of safer, more solid bets. In my opinion, Solana goes to around $500 in this bull market from now, which I think is far more sort of steady and reliable than a lot of other coins out there. We're also yet to see a lot of those ISO tokens doing anything at all. XDC, currently just sat in this kind of buy zone, has shown a bit of like promise trying to get out of this buy zone, and a lot of good news coming about XDC right now. Can I see XDC having a good run? I can see it at least doing better than it's doing right now. We can see Render gearing up, ready to take on those highs, but we probably won't see these highs until Bitcoin starts to stall, probably around $47,000. As soon as Bitcoin stalls, these coins that have been rallying during that kind of quiet period for Bitcoin pull back. They're waiting for the next push and then they'll go. So Solana looks like it's setting up nicely for the next kind of move beyond this point here. You can see it's still getting rejected in this area, but I think it's going to go fairly soon. Avalanche, you can see, has already broken that high, but is still lower or still in just a sort of similar area to highs that it saw earlier on this year, meaning that we haven't really moved into that phase 2, phase 3 of that path to altcoin season yet. So why would we be messing around in that like phase 4 of the altcoin season when really we're in phase 1? Why are we playing that game? Money flows through crypto in various different directions. Money's flowing into Bitcoin right now. That money will then flow into like Ethereum, flows into large caps, and then those altcoins, which don't really need much money to pump. And you may have realized more recently that there's a lot of other factors that we've been talking about throughout the year that don't really cause those kind of pumps. So no matter how good a project might sound on paper, what you're really betting on is how that project has the ability to kind of attract interest from a variety of different people. And there are obviously key influencers in the space who have more impact on those coins and things than others. Now, one thing that's caused recently a bit of a GameFi pump is what Alex Becker's been saying about GameFi and GambleFi. And I know it's annoying people that Alex Becker and other people have so much influence in this space and it's not right. Who cares, okay? It doesn't matter what's right and wrong. This is cryptocurrency. It's not right that most of these projects have multi-$100 million market caps because most of them are complete bullshit and most of them don't do anything. And most of them are just promise-based anyway. So don't get too hung up on the right and wrongs of all this. If you are too hung up on that and it upsets you, then go and trade stocks. But one thing Alex Becker has been talking about and has literally just posted about is this. He's been talking about IDOs, initial DEX offerings. Now, well, I want to tell you a little bit of a story. I was invited to invest in a project called Inspect, which actually launched today. Now, I was able to invest in this project before it launched, okay? And I was able to get it at a price of 0.012. If we look at Inspect right this second, and right now you can see that Inspect has been launched, and it in fact launched, if we go into a 15-minute chart, it launched about an hour. What was that? An hour and a half, an hour and 45 minutes ago. And from that 0.012 price, which I paid at pre-launch, you can see it's already done up to here 1617x. Well, why am I telling you this? To toot my own horn? No, guys, I'm telling you this because there's a lot of people in crypto who are getting these kind of early stage opportunities, but a lot of people don't have access to these kind of communities and whatever else. But they do have access to IDO platforms, launchpads, like Seedify, okay, which I've talked about a little bit on the channel already. Now, Seedify, you can see, is already starting to react really nicely right now to basically what's been going on. Why is it? If you go to Seedify and go and look at the cryptos they've been investing in, they're the top launchpad. Every time they launch a new project that does well, like Inspect or another one, Inspect actually launched on DAOmaker, they will basically blow up in price because to be able to launch there, you need to give them like 5% or 10% of your project. I'm not really sure. And then if you want to be invested into this project or you want access to those inspects or whatever at that very early stage, then you have to hold a portion. So you might have to hold like $2,000 of S-Fund tokens in order to be able to invest like $28 or $30 into a project like Inspect or whatever else. This is an absolute killer model for a launchpad, and therefore the launchpads will fire up. Alex Becker has been talking about them as well, which obviously helps. Seedify is a good one to look at. DAOmaker is another. And if you want to be able to get involved into projects like Inspect before they're even available at pre-sale and be able to buy in alongside all the whales, the big money who are making crazy money, but I get it, you don't have 100k or 200k to be able to invest, well, I've got your solution. Guys, if you are subscribed, and a lot of people are already in this, we are running through my Discord, the Inner Circle, link down below in the description. We offer the opportunity to be able to invest in brand new pre-ICO projects. Some of the projects we've been involved in throughout this year, you can see loading here, like Layer Zero, Fuel, Myria, Interswap, Eclipse, and some of the other biggest names in crypto launches. We've been able to access these projects before they've even gone live. And this month, we're going to be raising for 3 separate different projects. 3 projects that have already been invested in by Elio Trades, by Alex Becker. They're also funded by Binance Labs, who averages 185x from pre-sale, pre-ICO to all-time high. Not just that, but by being in the Inner Circle, you'll also be able to access various different technical analysis from various different members in here. A chat where you can talk to lots of people, including myself, around the world on a daily basis, who have a lot of experience within crypto. Daily little insight videos from me about what I'm doing, various wallets and things that we're tracking on a daily basis, my own chart analysis where you could have got in on Auto Nolas yesterday around this point here. And you can see since then, we're now up another 24% in just the last 24 hours. So guys, if you want to be able to get involved, it's just $9.99, 5-day free trial, link down below. But hurry up, if you want to lock in $9.99 as a lifetime price, then you need to be in before next year because we're going to be increasing the price for new members. But getting in now locks it in at $9.99, so it's a bit of a no-brainer in my opinion. So Seedify, definitely something I want to be paying attention to. DAOmaker sort of lagging behind, hasn't really seen the level of performance that Seedify has seen already this year, but I know that's because Seedify has been doing a load of sort of sponsorship and things like that, which is good because it's getting them more exposure. They've been doing it across YouTube. Now, interestingly, as I look at DAOmaker, does a similar sort of thing, and Inspect is a DAOmaker product. We are seeing potential for DAOmaker to break through here. If it breaks this, guys, then, you know, this price wouldn't be far out of reach, 276%. In fact, DAOmaker looks good. And if you look at this, and you know that DAOmaker does something similar, and you look at that, then you would say that Seedify is about up here already, okay, where it's already like rallied beyond that kind of previous high here. DAOmaker has the ability to rally up towards those kind of highs here, which would be a healthy 260%. Happy with that, yeah? This is what we're looking to do right now. Don't have to be crazy. Look at those companies that are actually making money. DAOmaker is going to make a lot of money. They invested in a bunch of projects last year that will now start to do well because it's bull market. They've got money in their bag, whereas other projects out there have got bloody nothing. And just before we clock out, a word from the sponsor of today's video, which is Magpie. Now, Magpie is basically a new launch pad, which will be starting to run new IDOs, and the first IDO is coming out this weekend for RadPi. Now, there's information on the RDP IDO. Now, IDOs, initial DEX offerings, are the opportunity for you to get into these. Now, what you will need to do is to be able to stake various different tokens. In this particular case, you can contribute USDC tokens via the Arbitrum network in order to be able to qualify for this. You can see they're delighted to announce the RDP RadPi governance token will be launched on the Magpie mainnet on Friday, December the 8th. The IDO for RadPi will start on Monday, December the 11th and will last until next Saturday, but it has a $1.5 million cap, hard cap. Once that hard cap's hit, then you won't be able to get involved after that. This is good because it brings in some of that like FOMO, which causes people to rush in and jump on top of these things. Now you can see it comes in various stages and you get various quotas for the amount that you are prepared to go and lock away. But obviously, the earlier you get into these early stages, you'll be able to buy in cheaper. So the earlier you get in before launches, guys, the cheaper you'll be able to actually pay. And you can see various different projects and things going on over the time. It's important to go and find out more. This is all linked down below in the description to find out whether or not this is something you would be interested in. Now, if we come across to RadPi, you can find out a little bit more about what RadPi is. Remember, guys, a new IDO isn't something we necessarily just want to jump in board until we find out what it's all about. This is RadPi. It's a DeFi platform developed on top of the Radiant Capital, industry-leading lending protocol. This is something as well that's very important. Lending, liquid staking derivatives and stuff like that is another key narrative for the next year or two, and these projects could potentially do well. It's also very cool. They've got all their tokenomics, fair launch, and all this good stuff put down below. Okay, fair launch, a big narrative, something that really people like the look of, okay, because it doesn't come from venture capital, which means it's not going to get dumped on your heads, okay. A lot of people felt like that was happening through the bear market, the people getting dumped on by the VCs, but actually once you get into kind of bull market territory, people are more likely to hold on to their bags, guys, because they want to see that upside potential along with you. As you can see, Magpie over on Twitter as well, currently got 145k followers, so in my opinion, this IDO will probably do quite well. There's a lot of big names and stuff in the space. A lot of people will also be promoting it on YouTube, for example, like me, and this is going to drive the FOMO and the people into the space. Ultimately, this is what gives value to projects, so don't just run a mile when people say they're sponsored by things, because actually, guys, this is what drives markets, in bull markets particularly. Guys, if you enjoyed today's video, do me a favor, hit that like button. If you're new to the channel, you want to know more about what to invest in, where we're going in the space, then subscribe. Won't hurt, will it? Bye-bye.